Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Managing Complexity with Design Management. We're going to jump into the webinar very shortly, but just a few housekeeping things for this On24 webinar environment. So first, you're probably going to have some questions you want to ask. We'll handle questions at the end. However, please do enter the questions in the Q&A screen or widget that you see, usually on your top left. Next, if you'd like to maximize or minimize the slide window for the slides, go ahead and use that little button at the top right of the slide. For any of these windows or widgets, as we call them, you can grab the bottom right-hand corner with your mouse and drag them open and close to resize them to your convenience. Also, if you have any issues at all, we have a troubleshooting and FAQ icon at the bottom. That's that little orange icon with the question mark. Go ahead and click that. Or if you'd simply like to refresh your screen, reload this presentation, you can hit the F4 key on your Windows computer. Next, we have some additional information in our resource widget. And lastly, if you see something or don't see something, you want to find one of these widgets or screens, just click down there on that bottom menu bar because each one of those will maximize or minimize any one of the screens you see here. So last request is at the end of this webinar, we would love it if you would click the far right icon, which is green with a little bit of a white square in it, and that's our survey. We really value your feedback. So if you could take a moment and complete that survey, we would be most appreciative. So with that, let me introduce our presenter and tell you a little bit about myself. So Kurt Pennington is a technical enablement consultant for Siemens PL. He has over 25 years of experience in design and manufacturing. So Kurt, having that kind of experience, understands your product data management pain points and needs on a day-to-day basis. He's uniquely qualified to speak to this particular presentation. So I'm very delighted to have Kurt and his decades of experience to come and talk to you about product data management and design management and managing that design complexity. My name is Brenda Ainsberg. I'm a channel program manager, and what that means is I simply bring information to you, information that's relevant and hopefully helpful and necessary for you to not only survive in these challenging economic times in your business, but really thrive in them. And I find great presenters like Kurt to bring you this technical information, this business information that will help you now and in the future. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn the presentation over to Kurt, and Kurt, please do take it away.
Thanks, Brenda. Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the market challenges and trends that companies like yours are seeing in the machinery industry. We'll talk about some of the keys to design management and then follow up with some right-sized scalable design management solutions. And at the very end, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So to begin with, I'll jump right in and let's talk about market challenges and trends. So one of the trends that we face is that, there's a lot of different factors that affect business. And as you probably know, complexity is now the new norm in machine design. From the 1970s up to today, the amount of software that's in machines has increased by more than 45%. And to me, that even sounds a little bit conservative. But it's clear that manufacturers must design and deliver smarter machines. Another trend we're seeing is that the end customer is becoming more demanding for more customized products. And then if you add in the increasing globalization, this demand for personalized or customized products is really also speeding up the need for advanced machinery. Now, along with that, you have individuals from various regions that are going to require diverse features and have different pricing. Our third trend that we've seen is that governmental and environmental regulations are increasing all the time. This is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. It means many machinery manufacturers must look for new products and solutions to meet the regulatory requirements. One source has shown that in the United States alone, new annual regulatory requirements have doubled over the past 10 years. This creates a huge burden on product development processes. The real challenge is to find cost-effective approaches to meet the regulation-related requirements. So with all this complexity, you really need to be able to build a smarter machine. Machine users need more functionality in that machine. Those machines also need to be networked so performance and service can be constantly managed. At the same time, just adhering to those regulations can be extremely difficult and costly, and not adhering to them can even be more costly, possibly even crippling a business for years. So in order to support this increased customization, you need to be able to manage your customer requirements better and make better estimates of the time and resources to address those changes. So really what it comes down to is not just managing the data, but also managing the way you work. So it's necessary to put in place a robust PDM system that is proven in the industry. The primary reason companies want to adopt PDM is to really take control of their machine data and their processes, and in effect, address the key trends that face many of these manufacturers. The idea is to have a single source of product data and process data. A single source of product data can really help you simplify that machine development. So when CAD design files, as well as the associated part data managed, the associated data are managed, you can have that all in one single environment to really help you improve your efficiency. Now, a managed PDM environment can ensure reuse of that existing knowledge as well, and thereby help you maintain repeatability and quality. PDM can also help you streamline those design collaboration processes across your entire organization. Now, we help you do this with our product called Team Center.
So we have a quick polling question, and I want to start off by asking, do you have an existing PDM system? You can grab your mouse, just indicate yes, no, you're not sure. If you're new to your group and you're not really sure, don't worry. No one sees these answers. They can't identify you. But what we want to understand is if you have an existing PDM system, if your company right now really isn't using one, or just if you're not sure at this moment. So go ahead and give us your answers on that, please. Like Kurt was saying, one of the stepping stones to true PLM is PDM. And I remember reading a study, Kurt, that showed between 15 and 25% of an engineer's time from this particular study was spent just searching for data instead of actually designing. So that was rather shocking to me. So if you could just go ahead and finish up that polling question, whether or not you have a PDM system or if you're not sure, that'll help us understand you, the audience, better and speak more to your specific needs. Great, thanks everybody. So Kurt, it looks like the majority, 64% do have a PDM system, but almost 30% don't, and there's another 8% who aren't sure. So if we assume for the sake of argument that the 8%, there probably isn't one, that's about 35% of this particular audience that doesn't have a PDM system.
Right, Brenda. And in the past, there were many fewer companies that were using PDM. It's increased over the years, obviously. But at the same time, a lot of those companies aren't really taking full advantage of what that PDM system delivers. And I'll actually talk to that a little bit. So the next thing I want to talk about are these keys to design management. So I'm going to touch on 3 key benefits: engineering productivity, business-wide collaboration, and that fast delivery experience. But I'll start by talking about the engineering productivity and show you how you can manage all your product-related files in one system. And then I'll get into that collaboration piece and show you how we can help you improve your product and processes and just the visibility within the organization to those processes and where things sit in different status and so on. And then at the end, I'll talk about some deployment options that are available to really get you up to speed and running with a PDM, PLM system very quickly and very cost effectively, and really get your return on the investment quick. So let's start off just with talking about the engineering productivity piece. So what I've got here is this is a survey that Tech Clarity did. And what they did is they went out and basically asked companies to do a self-report on themselves within kind of those engineering groups and kind of give a report as to where they see wasted time, or how much time they're wasting on non-productive tasks. What came back is that really it was about a quarter of the group said, well, we're wasting, more than 20% of our time on technical time, but it's really a non-productive task. And if you break that down, what it comes down to is, if I look at, that 20% of time, that really adds up to a week of that person's time, a total week. And then that's for every engineer. So for every engineer within a week, they've wasted that much time. So just thinking about your internal organization, where would you kind of have to look at this and think, well, how much time do I waste or I feel is non-productive time during my daily task? So, PLM is not all about technology. It's also about changing the way you work. And what we want to do is, with the right solution, we believe we can reduce that non-productive engineering time. So that solution really affects the way you work, but it also gives you tools to help you in the way you work. So just think about this. If I could search and find my previous machine data or current machine data and the collective knowledge that backs up that data, what benefit would that be for you? At the same time, if I could minimize interruptions. Interruptions are huge. On a daily basis, we have phone calls, we have people asking us questions. But if I could minimize those interruptions and that unproductive task that affects my team, what's the payback or how can that help me? And finally, I still have to participate in review and approval processes, but if I can streamline those, get those done quicker, with less, in a sense, interruption, because a lot of times meetings get called and then you have people that are absent from those meetings get rescheduled. It creates, again, a lot of unproductive time that can occur, and it affects the overall business. So if I can streamline that process and at the same time maybe enforce more regulatory requirements or take care of those, how is that going to help me as well? So what I'm going to do is show you a short video here of Team Center in action with a CAD application and kind of in a real life scenario, and show you, what happens within Team Center, what that looks like, and what some of those benefits are. I'm not seeing this queued up yet, so I'm just giving a little bit of time. Nothing is queuing across my screen currently, so I'm assuming you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. I'm going to push back a slide, and then let me, okay. So Nikki and Brenda, are you seeing the video playing?
Yes, Kurt, it's actually moving for us. So go ahead and hit F4 on your screen, perhaps to refresh your screen.
Okay. Hold on, it's spinning.
So thanks everyone for your patience. So we'll have this loaded up in just a moment. And as you all know as engineers, whenever you're working in software back at your own desk, it works fine. But the moment you are asked to demonstrate it in front of a team or on any kind of presentation, you know that it's probably not going to work for you. I think you all can sit back in your chairs and laugh a little with us because this is so typical of technology today. So thank you so much for your patience. We'll get running again in just a moment. We really, really appreciate this. It's a great demo, and I was happy to see it run perfectly in several practice sessions. So just hold tight. We'll be right with you. So we'll have this video running in just a moment. And I just want to thank everybody again for their patience as we work at this little technical bleep in the middle of our presentation here.
Give me just a second, Brenda. I'm going to re-enter the presentation mode. This one just seems to have completely died on me. So,
All right,
sorry
great.
about that,
Thanks
folks.
again. Thanks again to the audience. We really appreciate you as you hang in there with us so that we can show you this great demo. So Kurt, I have something to suggest. Perhaps we should circle back to the demo in just a moment. Let's probably move forward with the next piece of this. Will that work for you?
Yeah, at this time, I'm not seeing anything. That's the problem. I don't even see any of the slides. So I just changed to a different network, and let's see if this works. So I fired off a backup network.
Okay.
And
great. All right.
Because whatever the network I was on was just completely frozen. So it looks like I'm going to push back to the slide just before the video and see if it continues forward from there. Actually, I think I'm a little bit too far forward. Hold on. All right. Okay, so everybody hopefully sees the engineering work group demo video header slide, and I'm going to kick off forward, and that should take us into the video itself. All right, we're up. At least I'm up. So what we're looking at here is a specification developed by the marketing department. And Mark is in the marketing department. He's highlighting an area of that within Team Center that says, hey, we want to develop a new 6-axis machine. This comes from a customer request, and he's asking our engineering or our design group, how much time do you think this will take to implement this change? So from Team Center, now Mary immediately gets a notification within her Team Center, and she can actually go in and look at her engineering resources, see what tasks have been assigned, see what the workload is, and as you can see, they're kind of in the yellow already. So she goes ahead and responds back to Mark, and all this information is being captured in real time in Team Center, but she responds back to Mark and says, you know, we're probably looking about a month of development time for this particular change. But that's good information because it helps them then adjust the request for quote. Now what we're looking at here is we're actually in our NX CAD product. So the designer himself has access to Team Center. He gets the information directly from Mary, shows up in Team Center. He can make those changes and then send it back, and Mary will get the email saying, hey, here's what I've come up with. Now, Mary's not a CAD person. She's the design manager, but she has the ability, using our tools built into Team Center, to actually view the part, the model, interrogate it, and really look at the details of the assembly. So she noticed on the details of the assembly that he spec'd out a 4,000 RPM motor. Well, she's saying, you know what, we probably need a faster motor for that. So she's coming back, again, responding directly back to the designer and saying, you know, a 6,000 motor would be more appropriate for this. As you can see, the designer from within his CAD system, again, can see Mary's comments. He can use the tools within Team Center or that it provides to very quickly search and narrow down the type of motors he's looking for to do better reuse, right? He doesn't want to have to go create or spec out a new motor, but if that exists, he can very quickly identify it. And then he can bring that back into his assembly, send a note back to Mary and say, hey, I found this motor. It fits our assembly. Does that look good to you? So there's huge benefits as far as efficiency and payback. And then Mary can go, again, look at the assembly, look at what he spec'd out, and if she approves it, then she can basically send a message and say, you know what, this meets my approval, and let's move forward with the scenario from there. So that's just one example of, you know, Team Center and a CAD application working together. Now we have very tight integrations to all the major CAD players. So whether you're using Inventor or SolidWorks or, you know, Solid Edge, NX, whatever that may be, we have very tight integrations. So just to do a quick summary, you know, from that demonstration, you saw how easy it was for everyone to keep up to date, see the bill of materials, see the assemblies, and access and really collaborate in real live time. And, you know, machine development processes, there's a lot of things that affect that. There's a lot that goes on as far as the structure, the hydraulics, electrical, and so on. So just being able to streamline those processes, work interactively, and collaborate are huge benefits that Siemens PDM, PLM brings to the table above some of our competitors.
So we have another quick polling question here. I wanted to ask the audience, just so that we understand what your environment is like. We understand that you may have a primary CAD tool that you're using, but you probably interface with a lot of CAD tools with other groups that are doing design and or analysis, even perhaps, you know, with outside suppliers or customers of your own. So just so we can understand your environment better, would you mind, please, taking this polling question, check all that apply for which CAD tools are within your environment? What do you work with directly, and what are your colleagues inside and outside your organization working with? So again, it should be just an easy thing. Grab your mouse, just select which of those that are within your working environment, maybe not even every day, maybe you just see them a few times a month, but it would be good for us to understand what CAD tools you're exposed to, what data you have to deal with, whether it's on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. So just to keep this presentation within the time frame, let's just take another 5 seconds or so to move forward and enter this polling question, and then I'll display the results. A few people have noted that NX was not part of that question. Go ahead and select Solid Edge. And I will actually change the source data to read. I think this question needs to read Solid Edge/NX. We just can't have more than 5 choices. So please do select Solid Edge if Solid Edge or NX are part of your environment, and I'll just add that in. Great, thank you so much for the feedback, everybody. I really appreciate that. So let's just give it about 5 more seconds. For those of you who are using NX, go ahead and click on a Solid Edge there, in addition to any other CAD tools that are within your environment. And great. Let's wrap up this question. So it looks like we have a fair distribution. So again, that Solid Edge number down there is actually representing Solid Edge and or NX users for CAD tools. So Kurt, let me turn it back to you so you can see these results and how does this kind of fit into the the general business environment that people are dealing with.
Yeah, so that's pretty typical. I mean, that's in a sense a multi-CAD environment, right? Everybody had kind of different pieces of CAD, but that's not an issue for us. Like I said, we work with all the major CAD players. We have very tight integrations, and we can manage all their data very effectively. So this is just an example of one of our customers, Industrial Control Associates, or ICA. They use Teamcenter to help meet their customers' needs, right? So by using the software, they can manage their revisions, their releases, and their data, their CAD data, as well as their customers' AutoCAD drawings, PDFs, conceptual drawings, even Microsoft Office products can be managed within Teamcenter. It basically manages all types of data. So ICA has said that they're more organized now and that even their customers are seeing the benefits because now they're having improved quality of drawings and bills of material. So the next piece I want to talk about is business-wide collaboration. So like I mentioned earlier, that first presentation or demo was really focused more on the engineering design group, though there was some marketing tied in, but it's really about collaborating and working, within the whole organization, allowing our marketing people to have access to data. Maybe they need to start creating part catalogs and so on. And maybe our sales want access so that they can interact with us and tell us when there's new products being requested and new customer requirements and so on. So there's a lot that you can benefit from a PDM PLM system that maybe your current system isn't delivering for you now. Maybe your current system is just file vaulting, but it's not offering a lot of other benefits. So this is another study that or survey that Tech Clarity did, and what they did is they just went out and asked companies that already had PDM where they're seeing their biggest impact on business performance. And as you can see at the top of the list there, and this kind of goes back to that number you mentioned, Brenda, and this is probably where you saw it, is that 55% of the companies are seeing better, fast, and more accurate search and retrieval of that data. And when we say, I want to search for a piece of data, it's also about finding the related data to that product, not just that one particular piece of data. They're also having better management of their revisions and their versions. And as the list goes on, but you can see those first two are pretty big and they're very important, within an organization. So PDM and PLM can definitely make a huge difference. So earlier I talked about, it's more than just managing the data, but it's also about managing or affecting the way you work. So, if we were to go and think about the way I work on an everyday basis, there's several questions you could ask yourself. Can I automate my processes like design reviews and engineering changes using my current system? Or am I able to collaborate with my upstream suppliers or even with my customers? Can I manage those requirements and related product documentation effectively? So, typically I have some other document, customer requirement, or spec that defines that product, that CAD product. Do I really have those two tied together so that I know how they interrelate? If I can provide full visibility of my design and production cost, do I have that ability just to do more accurate requests for quotes and so on? And at the same time, can I connect my design to my actual manufacturing activities? So to really put everyone on the same page so that they're all working from the same product information. So another short video here to talk more about the collaboration side and how this plays out in a work environment. So before I get into letting it run a little bit here, what we're looking at is a workflow. And, every company has their specific different workflows. They can be configured within Team Center, but what we're seeing here is the green, yellow at the top. Those are processes or tasks that have been completed. The highlighted one is where we're at now. So that's a status or a stage of this workflow. And the blue have not been addressed yet. But with each of those tasks, we also have resources assigned to it. So as I complete a task and it moves forward, the system automatically delivers it to the next responsible person or the next responsible group of people that need to address that. And all that can be configured in the system to really help you automate your everyday processes and become more efficient. Now at this point, I'm going to go up to the Relations tab, and you can see, looking at the rotary axis, that there's a lot of other information. We have a request for quote related to it. We have a cost sheet. We have some raw material spec to it, and then, the requirements. And so we can really see the full breadth of everything that ties to that one assembly or CAD product. Now in here, we're using what we call our visualization within Team Center. We can look at the bill of material structure. We can look at the assembly, but we're doing this with JT. So JT is a very lightweight, high precision representation of your CAD models, but it also brings to the table a lot of other benefits, where I can start to visually view this instead of just looking at a schematic 2D. Now what we're going to do is add some manufacturing information to the bill of material. So this is something that didn't come from the CAD, but maybe we want to add, that I need a certain coolant associated to this particular 6-axis machine, and I want to spec that out. So again, using search tools, I can also tie into the ERP and identify that coolant and see if it's in stock. So we can tightly integrate with your ERP systems, and in this case, we can see that the coolant that he spec'd out was indeed in stock. Now, maybe there's a little more interrogation that needs to be done. We've got a plate here that we want to look at, and maybe we need to make the decision. Am I going to create that in-house, or should I go out and purchase that? And we can define, I want to make a buy product or a make product and set that up in Team Center as well. So here, using some of the visualization tools, the individual's able to measure it, he sections it. There's a lot of tools there at his disposal. In this example, we're actually in Microsoft Office in Word, and you can see a little Team Center tab. So this could be a template that we keep in Team Center. We're placing a little image of the JT data with a dimension, and we're basically creating this very quickly, very effectively, and it allows your users to stay in the product that they're used to working in. So I can stay in Word, I can do my work, but at the same time I can interact with Team Center. I know that this document is now going to be managed and linked to that assembly. So anytime somebody goes and looks at the assembly, they're also going to see that there's a Word document or a purchase request tied to it. At this point, once everything is good with that particular portion of the workflow, the person can say, you know what, I approve this. Once they check that off, it will move forward to the next task of the workflow automatically. and you'll probably already have those individuals assigned to who's going to work on that particular task. So in a quick summary of what we saw there is that, we're really extending the collaboration and the productivity across the entire organization. We can automate those machine design reviews and sign-offs. We have delivering your designs to your customers or your upstream suppliers as well using the tools that Team Center provides. So it really becomes from design to delivery. Team Center can manage all that. And again, it's a single source of data, so we know it's always in one system. And when people go into that system, they're going to see the same exact pieces of data.
Thanks so much, Kurt. So we have our next to last polling question here. So as a follow-on to this talk about integration, do you have an integrated release process today? And we've given you three choices here. There might be more, but we try to narrow it down to three. Yes, you have one that's integrated with your product data management system, or you may have a release process but not integrated. Maybe it's a separate system, or some folks just don't really have a managed release process. So go ahead and let us know how things work for you in your company, in your group, in your environment. What's the situation so we can understand better, and Kurt can speak to that. Let's just give it a few more seconds. Grab your mouse. Let us know whether or not you have an integrated release process and which of the three choices it fits best into there. And that should be pretty close to enough time. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward and display the results. Okay, so Kurt, it looks like we've got about 25% who have a release process that is integrated with their product data management system. We have a pretty high percent, 16% or so that, 60% or so that has a process, but it's not integrated with their PDM, and about 17% say really there's no managed release process. So if we do the math on that, that's almost 80% on those last two that really either don't have it integrated with their PDM or don't have a process at all.
Right, and I think that's pretty typical of what we see. A lot of people are still, managing their design changes, their engineering changes, engineering orders through Excel or through some other tool, or maybe even a manual notebook where they record data. And I know just from my work experience years ago, before I'm an old guy, before computers became as mainstream as they are, a lot of that was just done in a notebook and via paper process and dropping paper into a folder and transferring that folder around manually, hand by hand. So here's another example of one of our customers, for Hoven Oss. They added Team Center, and what that has done for them is now they can actually, they're doing better work on the various versions, keeping track of the versions, but they can also keep track of what they send their customers, because their product changes pretty consistently or constantly, and they may use one part version versus another part, and they want to know when they come back for warranty processes or whatever that may be, which version of parts those people have in their assembly, and they can do that with Team Center now. All right, so the last little piece here is about, talking about that deployment options and processes, and really how to quickly and cost effectively get Team Center deployed. So one study that Boston Consulting did was that, they kind of looked at people that have CAD and have PDM, and what they noticed is many times, only 10% of those capabilities are actually used. So, CAD systems, I've seen that a lot. I used to work on the CAD side, and people don't realize that there's new command sets there, or they just get in the habit of working in a certain way, and they don't use the full functionality of the product. And we even see that with PDM systems as well. So really what it's about is, Siemens, we want to get you, deployed with Team Center and get you up to speed. And so you can benefit from that, from those processes and workflows and data management very quickly. Siemens has been doing this a long time. We have thousands of customers that we've made successful and are successful. And with our experience and background and history, you should feel confident that we could get you there to, Team Center today is easy to deploy, it's easy to use, it can be very cost effective, but really pays back on the return for investment. So this is just an example, one example, and this would vary for every company based on their specific needs. But in this example, we're looking at about 15 users. There's some hardware, software requirements. They have consulting requirements. And then, of course, you have maintenance and tech support. And they're looking to deploy in 30 days or less. So based on that, their first upfront cost is about $77,000. And then they have a reoccurring monthly cost that covers their maintenance and support for $911. And you think, well, God, those numbers seem awfully high. But at the same time, if you look at what they're getting back as a monthly benefit, so basically they're saving, nearly $13,000 a month because now they're able to respond quicker, they're able to find that data, they're wasting less time on non-productive tasks and really benefiting. Their total return on investment comes in about a year's time, just slightly short of a year. So Tycrop is another one of our customers, and what they did is when they went out and started looking at Team Center, they were just really looking at it from the CAD perspective. I just want to manage my CAD. But what happened is once they started looking at it more, they really realized that, I can benefit more by expanding this across the organization. Instead of just focusing on engineering, let's focus on the entire organization, get all our processes and workflows, and tie in marketing, tie in sales and other groups, and get a better benefit from what Team Center offers. So let's quickly talk about the right size scalable design management options. So Team Center offers what we call a rapid start deployment option. And this is really more of an out-of-the-box solution to get our customers up and running much quicker and take that time and get them to value very quickly. So some of the key benefits of it, or solution areas, is that it does manage multi-CAD, and it manages more than just CAD, but really all data as well. You can also set up a standardized or intelligent part numbering. So we know a lot of customers, they have unique number schemes, maybe for different products and so on, and all that can be configured within Team Center. Again, we're also managing multi-document, other types of documents, not just CAD data, but I have the ability to make relationships between those other documents tied to CAD. So my customer requirement specs, my material specs can all be tied back to CAD data as well. We also have pre-configured reports in the system, but at the same time, you can create your custom reports. We also have pre-configured workflows. We've kind of looked at what the standard industry workflows are, pre-configured those in the system. At the same time, you can create or configure your own or modify the ones that come out of the box. And we provide you that entry-level engineering change management, so I can do my ECNs and my ECOs or ECRs and so on. We've also set up some pre-configured roles and functionality, because just, engineers have one role versus a sales manager or a shop floor person, and they have specific rights as far as editing data and creating data, and that's pre-configured out of the box. But really what this does for you and Team Center does for you, it really helps automate those everyday tasks and company-wide processes, making you much more efficient and profitable. So some deployment options that we do offer on the Team Center side is that Team Center can reside on the cloud. And there's different options or deployment strategies for this. It could be something as we do have cloud formation scripts to kind of generate those environments very quickly. We have service providers and deployment partners that have all been certified and can help get you up to speed if you're not familiar with cloud deployments and so on. It also can be scaled. So when you're in the cloud, you can, if I'm an organization that has just rush times where I'm bringing in contractors, I can scale up my software and hardware needs through the cloud. And as things slow down, I can scale back. And really what that does is help me manage that cost better. And then there's different infrastructures, lower cost of ownership processes, infrastructure as a service. But if I don't have a strong or big IT staff, I can kind of push more of that to the cloud to reduce the burden on those. And we also offer subscription licensing. So, Team Center, it's a single source. What we look at is, we like to say, well, we start with managing the data. We kind of start at that portion of managing the data, the processes, the workflows, but you always have the ability to extend the value of Team Center and expand into other pieces of the Team Center portfolio. So as your business grows or your needs grow within the company, you can extend the value of Team Center. You can even really transform your business. Again, it's not just about managing, it's also about a way of working and improving that way of working. You can also, drive strategic business initiatives and use Team Center to help do that by complying with various regulations, delivering more complex machinery, and just improving the speed and profitability within your organization.
Thank you so much, Kurt. So for anyone who does want to have a little bit of additional information now, there is a resource widget or screen. You can get to it using that menu bar on the bottom, or you might just see it right now on the bottom left of your screen. We've got a link where you can get more information. We've actually got a couple documents also if you want to download and look them over. So I want to mention that very quickly. So right now you can get more information, but we want to know one last quick polling question before we jump into the Q&A. Did you want to have some more information? Would you like us to send you detailed case studies? We showed you some slides. Do you really want to know more about the meat of the matter, how they implemented these things? What were the detailed benefits? We can certainly do that. Would you like some links to some videos if you want to see more information that way? So go ahead and indicate your preference. Would you like more info? Maybe a little bit later, maybe you're busy this week, next week, but maybe a little bit later you'll have time to look through some stuff. Or, the other option is you're all set for the moment. So go ahead and indicate your preference, please, as to whether or not you'd like some perhaps detailed case studies or some links to videos, and we can certainly get you those. We want to let you have that option. All right, let me go ahead and forward this. So let's just have a couple more seconds for everyone to give us your answers. We do take your preferences to heart. And then we're going to jump into the Q&A. Now, while we're doing Q&A, my request to the audience, there's a lot of you with us here. Would you mind clicking, if you don't have a question now, would you mind multitasking a little bit and clicking on that bottom right icon with that green background and the little white square? That's the survey. We'd really like to have your feedback about the content, how this goes. We bringing you information that's useful to you. So go ahead and grab that survey. And meanwhile, let me start with some of the questions. So the first question is, what version of Team Center was being demonstrated today? So Kurt, do you have that information?
Yeah, so what we were probably seeing was Team Center 10 or 11. That interface that you were seeing is what we call our Active Workspace interface. Now Active Workspace can be run from a workstation, a laptop. It can also be run on an iPad, an iPhone, an Android device. So really all you're doing is accessing the Team Center database, assuming you have the proper credentials to log in. You're accessing the Team Center database through Active Workspace, and the benefit is I don't have to load software to do that because it's all being done over the internet. So it's just an HTTP address, and Team Center 10 and Team Center 11 support Active Workspace.
Excellent. That may have actually.
Let me mention there's Active Workspace is kind of just included. So if you have Team Center, there's not a separate cost to say, hey, I want to run Active Workspace. That just comes along with the product, and It's just a configuration setup.
Oh, that's great. So anyone who wants to use Active Workspace to actually view this data, whether it be Android, iPad, tablet, smartphone, it's just a configuration setting. There's no additional, licensing costing needed, just a configuration.
Right. It's you still have your typical user login license. So if you're logging into the rich client from your desktop, but if you're out in the field, you just log in via your mobile device, and it's the same, and there's no additional cost for that piece of it. It's really just about somebody in the organization, IT or whoever deploys Teamcenter as far as setting up that environment.
Great, excellent to know. So the next question that we have is, and you may have already answered this, what viewer tool is being used? So was that answered in your last question? I think it may have been.
Not quite. I think his question's a little more specific, is that it is using our visualization, and we have various levels of visualization, but they're in a sense, I guess you could say, embedded inside of Teamcenter. So but what it's doing is visualizing the CAD or the JT data, and then the different levels just give you different capabilities within that viewer. So some people use the viewer for actually interference checking and things like that typically you would see done on a CAD system possibly, but that can also be done through visualization, having the proper level of that visualization set up.
Okay, excellent. Good to know. So we have another question that came in, and it was a little more detailed about the configuration. So when we were talking about the configuration, who would configure it? Would that be Siemens? Would that be a third party? Is it kind of up to the company?
Yeah, that would be something that would be discussed, I guess, at the time of the sales process. Many of our partners are certified and fully capable of doing installations and deployments, and then Siemens also has its own deployment installation teams. And we've had some customers, if they feel, if they have strong IT staffs, they've taken it on themselves.
Excellent. So let me find the next question here. So will Teamcenter work with CATIA V6?
V6 is yeah, I've got to check on that. I know there's something specific about V6, V5, no issues, V4, no issues, V6, I'm not sure if there's a special connector that comes from the CATIA side or something. That would be something I'd probably have to get back to the individual on.
Okay, perfect. Next question. So how does data protection and control happen while working with, say, international versus local CAD suppliers?
So every user has to have a specific license to log into Teamcenter. Now we are ITAR compliant and all the full array of whatever security exists. And I'm not an expert on the security side of Teamcenter, but I know it is very secure. It addresses all the secure codes and regulations that exist. Now I know when you have overseas people coming into, say a U.S. site, there are certain restrictions. They may actually, and I believe they actually have to get their licenses from a partner or Siemens side where they reside. So as a U.S. company, I couldn't take my licenses and send them to them. They have to get their licenses there, and then there's whatever agreement that happens. It happens on an everyday basis. I know it's possible. I just don't know all the specifics of it.
Okay, fantastic. So let me pull up the next question. And the next question is, how would you make drawings from your multi-CAD assembly?
Okay, so when we're working in a multi-CAD, because of the JT data, so when I take a CAD item and put it into Teamcenter, Teamcenter automatically creates a JT file of that. And that's how we're able to visualize that information very quickly and through Team Center and even through Active Workspace. So what I would do in that case is I would really be, in a sense, I'd have my master CAD, and let's say I'm working with CATIA, and then I'm also working with ProE or NX. One of those would be designated like the master CAD, and the other one would pull the JT data back in. And then from that, I can actually have reference to those two different CAD pieces in one CAD system. I can create my drawings. Mm-hmm. There are tools within Team Center as well where I can create drawings from JT data as well. So it would really depend on your application, what you're doing specifically, and what would make most sense for your application or your business processes.
Excellent. Thank you. Let me move on to the next question. So how easy is it to import legacy data into Team Center, for example, from Smart Team?
Well, I don't want to say it's easy, but I also don't want to say it's difficult. Data can be dirty, right? And if you've ever worked with PDM systems, PLM systems, when it comes to data migration, that data really needs to be clean in a sense, and you want the right, correct attributes in that data. So when I bring it into my Team Center database, I have a description. I have, whatever information is relevant to me, the part number, the description, maybe whether it's a make-buy, whatever was attached to that CAD data. I want that information that's relevant to me to also be pulled or extracted into Team Center. We offer tools for migration to help verify that data, check the data, clean the data if necessary, or even add additional attributes, and then we map the attributes, and that's kind of laid out in the technical sense. So it's not difficult, but there is time associated to it, right? And it depends how much data and how you want to, or manage that data, or what you want to extract from that data. Can be done, not a question there. And I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's just it's a process, and we would, again, it's a scenario process. Depending on your scenario, it would just have to be looked at and evaluated.
Excellent, thank you, Kurt. We had two more questions come in. So one question is, and this may go a little bit beyond the scope of this presentation. If it does, we can always get the questioner in the person with the question in contact with an expert on our side to definitely answer it. But do you know offhand if Team Center can read Bentley MicroStation data?
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I used to work with MicroStation, and I know we've actually had a tight integration. If you look back at the history, MicroStation and Solid Edge and these things kind of came from the same location. But that's something I have to look into. I don't know off the top of my head. I know Solid Edge, I believe, reads in MicroStation data, or at least used to. And I would think that we have, I'm sure I think we'd have something in place, but I'd really have to dive into that one and contact the expert on that.
I will make a note to make sure we get follow-up on that question. Thank you for the question about the Bentley MicroStation data. That's a great question, and there may even be more people on this call that are interested in that specific answer. If you are, go ahead and type in the Q&A, hey, I want to know about, MicroStation data and Team Center. Go ahead, and I'll just gather up that information, and I'll make sure to contact you folks. So let me look for the next question here. This is a great group. Thank you, everybody, by the way, while you're filling out your surveys, for also entering these questions, because this is a good time. We have Kurt, we have this applications engineer, this specialist, someone with over 20 years of experience in design and manufacturing environments, who can really give us the real story, or, if it goes a little bit beyond the scope of what we know at this moment, we'll definitely get you the answer. So thank you again for your very active Q&A. Everyone on the audience is benefiting from it. So the next one is, can you distinguish the functions between PLM, versus ERP? So maybe talk a little to ERP. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thanks for that question, Don. So just to clarify, Team Center is not an ERP system. ERP is more addresses the manufacturing side of the house. Now, Team Center addresses more the design, the engineering, the process side of the house, but they both interact, right? I can have Team Center data that I would like to have in the ERP system, or I may create a design, and now I have that bill of material because I created the design on the PLM side, and I want to put that design or that bill of material on the ERP side. So I have the ability to push the bill of material to ERP, or maybe the company, this particular company or organization prefers to create the bill of material and master it on the ERP side. I can push it the other way to Team Center. So there's a lot of configuration that can happen there, a lot of, again, it's determining who's going to control what piece of the data. Is ERP controlling the cost, but maybe I want to grab the cost from ERP. And in that one example, that's really what we saw. They went out, they interlinked with the ERP system, and they looked at the coolant cost, or, how much is that coolant piece of the puzzle? Is it in stock? Well, that in-stock question came from the ERP, but Team Center was able to grab that piece of the information. So
excellent. Thanks so much. Excellent. There was another question, and I'm predicting that the answer is going to be kind of an 8 to 10, but let me go ahead and discuss the question. So do you know what the average implementation effort involved is involved, when it comes to, say, implementing Team Center? Is it, what is there an average we know of, or what would the implementation effort, depend on? What are maybe some of the major factors?
Yeah, not that I know of, because every organization is different. Every organization has different, number of users, different needs, different wants. Now, if we were to look at the average Team Center deployment using our rapid start deployment method, and maybe we're looking at, like that one example had 15 users, they're probably looking at, 2 to 3 weeks. And I know and I just see the next response to that is I understand you're not interested in the pre-configured model of it. And then really then it comes down to, we'd have to talk to you, look at your organization, what your requirements are. I just don't know off the top of my head. It can vary. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take that as an action item to follow it specifically. So that was also related to the MicroStation data. So it'd be really good to get, some face time, some one-to-one time to just get those requirements in, see what the objective is, and be able to come up with some harder estimates on time frame, et cetera. So why don't we do that? I'll take that as an action item. Excellent. Let's just give it one more minute for anybody with their last question. We are 3 minutes over our time frame. In fact, we usually run about 45 minutes. We had an amazing Q&A. Thank you so much for your participation and sending in those questions. So we're about 3 minutes over. I don't want to keep you any longer than you have to spare with us. So go ahead and ask any final questions. And if not, it'll take me a few days to gather up all this information, but I will get back to those who had specific questions. Charles, I owe you a call on a specific question about something that went a little bit beyond the scope of this presentation. And I just want to thank Kurt again for presenting and for doing a great job, and for all of our audience members for spending their extremely valuable time with us for an hour today. Thank you so much, everyone. There are no more questions at this moment, so I'll end the presentation. Thank you so much, Kurt, and everyone have a great day.